is going on? Hey, oh, sorry. I guess we can cut that part off. Oh, do you want to change your moniker? Daniel, the
Yep.
gamer? Sure. All right, I'll just chop that off the video.
There we go.
Hey, Gamer Dan, what is going on, mate?
Hey. I just watched the Super Mario movie and I have some thoughts.
I'm very keen to hear what you got to say. And I suppose we can just start talking freely. I think like you'd probably be comfortable with, and then we can break into some more specific questions. You cool with that?
Sure, that works for me.
All right then.
I am so glad I saw it. I was excited. I mentioned before when we looked at the trailers that I've been avidly following the movie the moment they announced it. I was a little bit apprehensive about the voice casting choices. That was a little bit I wasn't sure, but when I started hearing them, I thought, yeah, that could be good. But I was excited but apprehensive because this is a film that could go well, or it could crash and burn in a spectacular way. Ultimately, it's kind of what it says on the tin. It's a good movie. It's a great vehicle for Nintendo. It references so much of their games, but also the mechanics. And there's a point I want to make later about that. But I think it's a clear step in the right direction for video games as movie. Right. Historically, video game movies have been maligned, have been kind of money sinks. Hell, Usain Bolt is a name synonymous with terrible video game movies. But those were designed as tax breaks. They were never intended to be movies. It was just a cheap way to get enough attention to launder a bunch of money. Asshole. And the games were not seen as an art form in their early inception because it's a very, very young medium. It's only been around since the 70s and only commercially since the late 80s. It's an immensely young art form, and it's still, still seen as kind of a disposable one. It's a childish thing, a pastime. But video games have come a long way in proving that they can be a viable form of art to express stories, an interactive medium to engage with the human condition. But film has had a much longer inception. It's been around much longer. Film, earlier in its creation, was seen as a disposable, kind of a cheap, torrid thing for the masses, low quality entertainment for low quality people. But as time went along, it had a renaissance. It's had two renaissances. Renaissance? What's the plural of renaissance?
I guess renaissance will do for now. We'll check it
out. It's had many revolutions in its time as a way of expressing ideas and getting to look at the human condition. And it's allowed people to accept that it is a way of expressing art. We don't malign it. We don't kind of denigrate the film industry so much when they release trash. We just go, oh yeah, well that's popcorn movies, But we still accept that it is a good way of embracing art. Video games has yet to do that. It's still struggling to get into the art space. There are people who are arguing for it. There are games that can be established as that, but it's still a gulf between the two mediums. So video game movies are historically have been in this really awkward position where they're referencing a childish thing, but doing it in an adult way, and it's this almost cognitive dissonance. It's two competing ideas trying to fight over. So more historically, video games movies have been movies. They've been controlled entirely by the movie industry, and they've taken the medium and just gone, well, this is how we make a movie. But we're beginning to see, companies realizing, no, the IP, the characters that we loved, we want to see those characters faithfully represented on screen. You know, when Peter Jackson did the Lord of the Rings series, he was championed for being almost as faithful as possible. Yes, he tweaked some scenes, he added a bit here, he extended a bit there to make it more cinematic. But he was very, very, very faithful to the original source material, and he was championed. He was lauded for it. Well, now we're seeing the Sonic films 1 and 2 taking a very realistic, very accurate portrayal of Sonic. And the Mario movie, that's just pure Nintendo goodness. Just hook it straight to my veins.
Yes.
That said, I think it's overcorrecting itself. I think it's going so far into the gaming camp that it's a good film, but it's not a great story. It leans too heavily on knowing the material. There's even moments in the film where I think as a movie, it fails because it's leaning too far into the tropes of the games that it's referencing. You know, in the film, when they're on the Rainbow Road,
yeah,
and Bowser's minions begin to attack, you see Mario beginning to skid to gain little boosts to get ahead of his attacker. And he even jumps off onto a second route to kind of break up the attack by using a purple shine boost. Now that's a direct mechanic taken from the Marios. But no one told him how to do that. In the film, he's surprised that he could. He's like he doesn't realize what's happening. And I think as a movie, one thing that he needed was a sidekick. There's a reason why many Disney films and many kids films have these funny sidekick characters that go along with the main character. Someone to, play the straight man or to play the funny character, because they're an audience insert character. That way the people of the world can explain the mechanics, explain the rules to this character as well as the audience. It's difficult to have that kind of fan insert character be the protagonist, because then the guy you're rooting for is perpetually stopping and going, oh, hold on. What's happening here?
Yeah.
Makes him sound foolish, like he doesn't know what's happening. Well, we didn't have that character in this. Mario is supposed to be from our world. He enters the Mushroom Kingdom. And right from the get-go, he doesn't get what's going on. He's looking around. Even in the trailer, he's like, oh, so the blocks are just floating there. Even the physics of this new world he's in, he doesn't understand it. But there's no one there to explain it to him. Now, if you're a gamer, you don't need it explaining. You know the mechanics of this world. It's the game world, and many scenes lean into this. These little flurries and touches of things he can do. Like Mario, notably not very athletic guy. In the training montage near the end, he's doing the triple jump. He's doing a perfect triple jump from Super Mario 64, a 1, a 2, and then there's the spiral.
Right.
Who taught him to do a front flip? Now, when he's doing, leaping and jumping from thing to thing, I'm thinking, yeah, he's been doing this all night. He's been taking these mushrooms. He's getting a handle on himself. He's physically able to do it. It's just finessing it. But then he does a front flip, and I'm thinking, oh, dude, that's learned. Someone's going to teach you that.
I like the insights, man. This is fantastic. Well, yeah, I mean, now that being said, boy, there's a lot to unpack there. What you said, and I guess I want to give my 2 cents in before we go into the actual questions. And gosh, yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah. I mean, first of all, what you said about the story. When it comes, in fact, I actually watched the Angry Video Game Nerds reaction. Similar thing what you said about the story of Sonic versus live action / animation of Sonic versus Mario. It's funny. It's very interesting because I think what he said is that the very fact that the movie is half real, half half real, half CGI, gave him the sense that he could touch the characters more. It felt more like they're real and more of a sense of the two worlds going on. And I see what you were saying with that. It's funny because since the Mario Odyssey world came into being, you got the same thing that you have with Sonic now. You have these characters coming from the, and this is my input right here. You have the concept of these characters that are supposed to be a human and a hedgehog, all of a sudden coming into this real world, like Homer Simpson in the. You remember the Simpsons episode when Homer went into the 3D world? He went to a vortex through the wall, and it's like these things aren't
Treehouse of
real.
Horrors.
Yes, exactly. So when you got that going on, it makes the audience. It's one of those winks to the audience to say that yeah, we know that this is not the real world. So when Mario's coming from his world into Peach's world. Well, although the movie suggested maybe she's from his world, which we'll find out later. Um, to me, it's all like one world, and Mario's on a psychedelic trip, on some mushrooms or something. But it's like all of a sudden he's floating down some pipe, and there's all these psychedelic colors going on, and flower power is all the rage. I'm thinking, yep, he's on a trip. He's a drug pusher.
Hmm.
But still, yeah. I mean, thankfully, it's one of those. It didn't take away. All right, I don't want to take away from the questions I'm going to ask soon, but I'll just drop this one little thing in. Thankfully, as far as entertainment goes, it doesn't really take much away from the story, from what the kids can get out of it. But like you said, yeah,
Hmm.
I know what you're saying about those things where the movie glosses over something that people who follow the law more deeply would expect to have more attention paid to. Case in point, Harry Potter, the third one. I don't know if you've seen the. Yeah, so I love the Harry Potter books, and the third one was my first book where I just really loved the storytelling, even though, you know, people argue. I mean, regardless of what anyone thinks of J.K. Rowling's writing ability and how much the book was helped, the story I thought was very strong, and the way I listened to Stephen Fry reading it, and I was like, he really acted it for his life.
Hmm.
The whole there's a thing about the Marauders map, and,
Hmm.
how Harry, how the map is actually made by Sirius Black and Harry's dad, and so on. There's a point where all of a sudden Harry is in the Whomping Willow with Snape and Black, and all this stuff is happening so quickly. And uh, Sirius Black at some point says the map never lies when Harry's talking about the map, the Marauders map to Lupin. No, Lupin is telling Harry about Peter Pettigrew showing up on the map, and Harry said, "Well, the map was lying when it said Pettigrew was in excuse me, was in Hogwarts." And Sirius Black blurted out, "The map never lies." And I'm like, "What? What? How do you know about the map? Who are you?" It's like the whole thing was just glossed over. In the book, they took the time to explain how Padfoot, Sirius Black made the thing. So, but in the movie, they just jump straight to the map never lies. And I'm like, "Hey, does anyone know it's that they? It doesn't make sense." But at the same time, I just let it go. But those moments. I mean, the whole what I love about that's the book is the way they strip down the idea of Harry being having this whole world that he believed in slowly being picked apart with a bit of truth and facts and whatnot. But that being said, when it comes to a simple Mario movie, thankfully you can get away with a few things just in the name of maybe this whole thing is a dream after all, but we don't want to go down that road. It'll ruin the illusion. But Toad, yeah, I think Toad could have been that sidekick that you're talking about if you'd use him a bit more. I think the movie is more concerned about getting the point across to lay people as quickly as possible and just making a fun movie. Hopefully, by the time the second movie comes out, I don't know if you saw to the after the credits. Did you wait after the credits to see?
Yes.
Yeah, and maybe with the dinosaur coming into the fray in a follow up piece, they'll go deeper into story with depth, a bit like they did with the X-Men movies. And they
Hmm.
kept making them. They got deeper and richer than I even knew about the depths that the characters went into. Yeah, until they got to the very latest one, which I thought was pretty lame. But
Phoenix. Yeah.
yeah,
Terrible.
my God, me and my brother saw it. We were like, what the? Huh? We want our money back.
Hmm.
But anyway, we're in the cinema. But that being said, the Logan movie, it got very deep, and I was like very rich, and we were very we very much appreciated. Well, I saw Logan myself, but that being said, I appreciated how even though you can start with something that is just like quick presentation to everybody what you're dealing with, it can build depth over time. But yeah, I guess that's just what I want to say before I get into the questions.
I
But
hope so. I agree with you. I think that the film's been so successful. It's broken records. It's the most successful animated movie launch. It beat Frozen 2, which, considering how big Frozen became, and then Frozen 2 was just a massive success off of the back of the first one. Good movie.
yeah,
But I still think the first was better.
yeah, for sure.
But the fact that Mario has broken the record for the opening, that's that's a marker that this is a franchise, this is an IP that people want, people enjoy. But like you said, Toad, if you were making a better movie, Toad would have explained certain aspects of the world to Mario. He didn't have to do it often. He didn't have to do it frequently. He didn't have to do it, and he could have done it like he was, in his sardonic, in kind of the voice actor's way. Was it not Jordan Peele? It was
wait, Jordan Peele?
Key?
Something, no.
Keen, yeah, Keen
yes.
of Key and Peele.
Yeah.
He's the voice of Toad, and his scenes are quite funny. His scenes are quite clever, and Toad seems to be quite a badass character. He's a brave Toad, and the idea that even a brave Toad exists is so shocking. Even the princess is like, yeah, you're on the team.
Yeah.
Well, he meets Mario. He brings Mario into this world. He introduces him to the Peach. He joins them on their journey. Just some banter, just some general conversation. Mario could be querying bits and pieces, and Toad could be pointing it out. When they're doing their little traveling montage, you could just have him point at stuff, and then Mario follow his finger. Like, hey, this is a Toad that's got a backpack and a frying pan. This guy knows the lay of the land. He's traveled. He's a learned Toad. Lean into it. This guy's new to the world.
Yep, I think
pointing some stuff out.
Sure, yeah. I think they'll bring that out in the follow-up piece, because obviously they're definitely going to bring out more movies. And all right,
but
sorry.
I think that the film moves at a blistering pace. Anyway, lots of people, both pro and against the film, people who liked it and didn't, all can agree that it's quite short for what they do. The scenes move very, very quickly, and they get enough exposition out, and they get enough action out. The action sequences, no notes. Chef's kiss, beautiful, loved it.
Yeah.
But I think a number of scenes could have done with a beat longer, like 30 seconds, just to let certain emotions sit. To kind of, that's how you build emotions in good film. Is you let it build, you let it simmer. You don't just say, "I'm hurt," move on. We want to see the hurt. We don't want you to tell us how you're feeling. We want you to show us. Show, don't tell. Yeah, we didn't get a lot of that. We got a lot of people telling us how they were feeling and telling us what was happening, but we weren't shown it as much. So if the film was a little bit more confident and was willing to stretch certain sequences out just by a beat or two, just let us see the emotions, see the realizations on people's faces. Even at the big turning point at the end where Mario resolves himself to go and fight Bowser. That was beautiful, because we got that moment. We got a moment where he was at his lowest point, and there's no one there to go, "You got this, Mario." No, he has to summon the emotion himself. He has to steel himself and go out. And that was a fantastic moment. But we could have had these throughout the film. And it felt like the film was too eager to get to the next set piece than to let its story speak for itself. I think ultimately it lent so hard into the idea of, hey, I know you know this. We know you know this. It's a Mario game. We know it's a Mario film. We won't bother with the building, because we just assume you know it. I can respect that. And you know what? I do respect that in other mediums. There's a lot of programs out there that don't take the time to explain stuff to you. They go, "We're going to trust you know this. You got this." Hell, the Marvel spent the first phase, every major hero got an appearance, a significant appearance, if not their own movie. Then when the Avengers film occurred, they didn't need an intro. They went, boom, hit the ground running. And if you didn't watch if you missed any of those earlier films, they didn't stop to wait for you. They were like, hey, the background reading's right there. Do that, and then we expect you to know what's going on. And it worked for them, because it meant they could get into the action, into the story, and let these people meet. And the crux of the first Avengers movie was the characters meeting, the friction coming from them, resolving to work together, and how these disparate characters with disparate abilities are united to a single goal. And that's the Avengers project. And Mario movie could have been the Avengers. It could have been this fantastic event where all these disparate elements of Mario canon come together and shine.
I see what
But
you're saying.
instead, it was too enamored by its own premise. It was too, hey, we know you get this. Well, some of it could have used a little bit of a glossy. You know, maybe I'm an old school guy. Maybe I'm a little bit older than I should be. But I miss the instruction booklets. I miss a bit of gloss at the beginning to go, hey, this is why we're here.